Founders Academy is a 3-part learning journey designed around the real stages of company building. Lesson 6, testing your MVP the right way. The goal is not to build the product. The goal is to test the assumption. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to understand if your MVP works, test real assumptions with real users, use evidence loops instead of guesswork, and decide clearly whether to kill, iterate, or scale. Most founders say they are building an MVP, but what they are really building is a small version of the ultimate product they eventually want. And that's where things go wrong. An MVP is not your product. It's not the first version of your roadmap, and it's definitely not something designed to impress investors or look polished. I have seen founders spend months building an MVP that taught them nothing new. By the time they launched, they were emotionally attached, financially stretched, and still unsure whether anyone actually wanted what they built. That is not a failure of execution. It is a misunderstanding of purpose. An MVP exists for one reason only: to reduce uncertainty. It is an experiment designed to test the biggest unknown in your business as quickly and cheaply as possible. Now that you have built your MVP, how do you test it? Part 1, what good MVP data actually looks like. One of the hardest things for founders to learn is how to read early data properly. Because good MVP data rarely sounds exciting, it doesn't come wrapped up in praise, and it doesn't always feel encouraging. And in fact, it often feels inconvenient. Real signal shows up in behavior. So this is what good feedback looks like. Users come back without you reminding them. They keep using something even when it's slow, manual, or a bit ugly. They don't care that it's unfinished. They care that it works because it's delivering value. And some will ask to pay. Others will get annoyed when you stop offering it. A few will tell a friend without being asked. These are small signals, but they matter. Bad data is quieter and easier to misread. This is what negative feedback looks like. People tell you it's interesting. They say they like the idea. They promise to try it later. They need to be nudged, followed up with, or convinced. Usage doesn't change. And often the only people showing up are friends, family, or people being polite. This is why founders get stuck. Compliments feel good, but they don't move companies forward. Behavior does. So when you're unsure which signal to trust, always trust what people do, not what they say. Framework 1, the MVP Success Scorecard. One of the most common mistakes founders make after running an MVP is misreading the results. A few positive comments start to feel like validation. A handful of polite users feels like demand, and silence gets rationalized away. This is dangerous because early feedback is noisy, emotional, and often misleading. This is why strong founders use a scorecard, not to chase certainty, but to force honesty. The purpose of an MVP scorecard is simple: to separate real signal from everything else. After your testing period, you score your MVP across a fixed set of 10 questions. Score it from 1 to 5 based on what actually happened, not what you hoped would happen. The first set of questions focuses on clarity and value. 1. Did users understand what this was quickly, without explanation? 2. Did it deliver the core value you promised? 3. Did anyone come back on their own without being nudged? 4. Did they share it with someone else? These questions tell you whether the outcome is landing naturally or not. Then there are questions that founders often misinterpret. 5. Did users complain that the experience was slow, clunky, or manual? That's often a good sign. Complaints usually mean customers care. Indifference is far more dangerous. 6. Did anyone ask to pay? 7. Did anyone ask what's next? Those questions signal pull. 8. Was testing painful and forced? 9. Did users ask for features that had nothing to do with your core value? That usually means the problem or outcome isn't clear enough yet. And 10. Finally, the most important question: Did at least 2 or 3 users exhibit real pull, meaning they chased the product, followed up, or tried to use it beyond the test? Once you've scored all 10 questions from 1 to 10, the results become hard to ignore. A total score above 40 usually means you've found something worth doubling down on. A score in the 30s suggests iteration. Something is working, but not cleanly enough yet. And anything below 30 is a signal to pivot, not to polish. The real value of the scorecard isn't the number. It's that it removes emotion from the decision making. It forces you to face reality early when change is cheap. Here's an exercise for you. It is simple. Run a 4-week MVP sprint using the scorecard, and do not adjust scope mid-sprint. Changing the experiment halfway through usually means avoiding the result. Learning requires commitment, even when the answer might be uncomfortable. Finally, review and plan your decision making. Before you build anything else, I want you to pause and do 6 things, slowly and honestly. In the next lesson, we will start working on product market fit, PMF. But before we do, it is important to take a step back and review what we have done so far. 1. Define your riskiest assumption in a single sentence. This should be uncomfortable to write. If it is wrong, the company doesn't work. That's the one you're testing. 2. Choose your MVP type from the 5 we have discussed. Not the one you're excited about, the one that best tests assumptions. 3. Define one success metric, one number that tells you whether this worked or didn't. If you can't measure it clearly, you won't learn from it. 4. Plan a 7 to 14-day build. If it takes longer than that, you're building a product, not running an experiment. And 5. Line up 10 to 30 real users in advance, not people who are being polite, people who actually feel the problem that you are trying to solve. Think about where you can find them and go there, physically or virtually. And finally, 6, decide your outcome before you start. What does kill look like? What does iterate look like? And what would justify moving forward? Decide all of this before you write code or build a product. It's the best way to stay honest. Building an MVP isn't about progress or speed. It's about discipline. It's about resisting the urge to build before you understand and using small experiments to force truth to show up early. When MVPs are used correctly, they clarify what matters, expose what doesn't, and make decisions easier. They help founders choose whether to move forward, adjust course, or stop based on evidence, not hope. Founders who work this way don't just move faster. They waste less time, less energy, and less belief in the wrong things. And that restraint is often what creates a real advantage early on. Some common mistakes I see at this stage are often founders building full products instead of experiments. They confuse MVPs with prototypes, test with too few users, keep adding features instead of learning, or move goalposts. Many wait for things to feel ready, which is usually just another form of hesitation. MVPs are not about building, they're about learning. The fastest founders aren't the ones who write the most code, but the ones who eliminate uncertainty early and decisively.